Now, I was talking about earlier, the whole perfection thing. Nobody's perfect. Yeah, but that's no excuse for you to be indecent to society. You still have to be decent. And leave your perception of what you think perfection is to yourself. And stop comparing other people to what you think perfection is. See, because you have this image to your individual understanding of what perfection is supposed to look like to you. And then you put that screen before everyone else and you try to determine if this person is perfect unto you. And then when you see their reality, you perceive their reality as imperfect. And so you say, well, nobody's perfect. How come this person is not speaking to me anymore? Because, as I said before, you have this perception of what you think perfection is. And so, due to the fact that their reality doesn't go in harmony with your perception of what perfection is, now you have a problem. Oh, it's something wrong with them. And then you look at yourself, well, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Simply because you created something, or like a brother who I was working with tonight, you signed a check that your ass cannot cash. You did some dirt and you thought that it was going to bring you peace, but it didn't. So now you have to pay for that. And so you can't go to that person, hey, what's wrong with you? Hey, bro, I didn't say that. No. You got to stay away from it, because if these people or this person is no longer communicating with you, respect the fact that they need their time to determine if they're going to continue a brotherhood or a partnership with you. You can at least respect that. You have to live with what you did. And this is why I tell people all the time, the way you treat others is the way you treat yourself. So don't think that you can do dirt to somebody and it's only going to affect them. If you do have a conscious level, you better be aware that if you have a conscience and you still got some morality sitting sitting inside of you, don't think that you're evil inside. It's not gonna be questioned by your morality inside. It's called the conscience. You have to live with that. And you have to give this other person time to heal of the evil and the corruption that you've caused in their life. And they're not gonna allow you to interfere. Because you just may interfere at a moment to where they're just enraged about what you did. And they're staying away from you because they know their internal status. So it's best that you leave them be. And you deal with the evil that you've done. You need to look at yourself. I was sitting talking to some friends of mine, and we were observing the time and healing video. And on that video, I was dealing with the subject of perfection. And when we were watching it, his wife had difficulty of understanding exactly what I meant. And I can understand that, because talking about perfection, it is a difficult task to try to really understand it, especially when everyone, as I said before, have their own individual perception of what perfection is, because we're all human beings and therefore we're all individuals. Because the word also says that, and you really don't have to study the Bible to know this, but the Bible is a help device that will guide your attention towards the subject of perfection. And you can even look at the organism on how each one of us individually were created. And none of us have the same fingerprint. I mean, if you study snow, when I was in 3rd grade and we were studying snow, and what was revealed to all of us was that when you go under the microscope and you study each speck of snow has a beautiful, unique, individual design to it. And so every snowflake that drops, every raindrop that drops, has its own individual design. And that right there reveals the profound wisdom of the Creator, of how the Creator is able to produce billions and billions of snowflakes, and each one is different. I mean, that right there that's phenomenal to me, to just think about that. And when you look at each snowflake, it has its own design. And when you observe each snowflake in its own individual, unique sense, when you look at it, there's no way that you can judge it as perfect or imperfect, and when you look at it, you're like, wow, this is, and your mind reveals, this is perfect. So what is perfection actually to the human being when you observe something that the Creator of the universe and everything created? See, observing something that the Creator created and gave to us, and when we observe it, the perfection that the Creator placed inside of us recognizes that individual snowflake or raindrop or anything like that as perfection without comparison. That's perfect, because it comes from, not only because it comes from the Creator, but even though it comes from the Creator, what is perfection? Perfection is something that is sacred. Perfection is something that is beyond comparison. That's my point. The way that I found this out wasn't by way of when I was in 3rd grade. One morning when I was coming home from work, I hadn't attained a vehicle yet, and I was working at this casino out here called the Wynn Casino. And so I wasn't feeling well, and so I usually would get off at 8. And the reason why I wasn't feeling well is because I was irritated, because it was the slow season and our schedules had started being readjusted. And so I would usually get off at 8, but this particular morning, I got off at 6 because I was called in too early, 2 hours early before I usually start. And so I'm the type of man, I have my life adjusted around time. Everything is time. Everything in my life is planned. And it has to be that way because you're a writer. But when it had changed like that, I had to adjust to it. The same as Brother Bruce Lee said, you have to be like water. You pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You pour water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You pour water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. So his teaching was telling you to be able to adjust to anything and everything in life when things are readjusted in your life, or you just be able to adapt to any presented situation in your life. And so I got off at 6, and so I was struggling with what Brother Bruce Lee taught us. I'll just have to admit that. And so as we were going down the street called Sahara, I lived on the street called Fort Apache because I was living in these condominiums called Canyon Gates. And so as I was on the bus riding, it's like a 40-minute ride because Fort Apache is kind of far from the strip. And so as we was on the bus, as I was riding on the bus, I kind of dozed off, and then when I heard that the bus driver was like 2 blocks from my stop because of the intercom, I woke up. And when I woke up, I looked outside the bus window, and there was a beautiful sunrise that really it shocked me. It was incredibly beautiful. It was incredibly beautiful. And so when we got to my stop, I got off on Fort Apache. And when I got off the bus, it was right on the corner of a Walgreens. And there were some trees. So I had to walk in the Walgreens parking lot so that I would be able to observe the sunset. And this sunset was breathtakingly beautiful. And so I stood there and I'm staring at the sunrise. It was a sunrise. I'm looking at the sunrise and I stilled myself and I shut my mind off. I shut my mind off. And I allowed myself to observe this sunrise. And what I noticed about the sunrise, it had beautiful colors to it. It was yellow and red. You had the white clouds, you had the sun smiling at you and everything. And man, it was just so beautiful. And so once I allowed this, what I was looking at, to bring me into a state of humility, my mind asked the Creator, what am I witnessing right now? What am I looking at? And then I didn't get an answer. What am I looking at? So that's the mind of comparison. And so once I allowed myself to be more still, then my mind settled and opened up more. And then my mind said, what am I seeing? What am I seeing? In other words, what are you presenting to me? And so I stood there and I looked at it. And it was moving. Therefore, it was alive. And so I was seeing it. And the way the Creator communicates with me is there's a clarity that comes not to the mind, but it comes with a a feeling, a presence that your inner self, which is the heart, can perceive that that presence is in fact the creator. And so you can rely on this perception that you're getting ready to receive. You can rely on it because you can tell that the presence that you're feeling is the creator. And therefore, when the perception, is given to you, it's a divine perception. And so when the creator gave me that clarity of what I was looking at, the creator had told me, you're looking at perfection, something that is moving, something that is alive, and something that is sacred, because you would never see this again. You would never see this again. So don't compare it to anything that you've seen in the past, because you're living in the present moment. Allow yourself to live in the present moment, because you will never see this again. And so I observed it without comparison. It was living and it was moving. And due to the fact that you can't compare it to anything, nothing in your mind is thinking about how what you're observing can be made better by, oh God, I should have put blue in here. And no. If you're comparing what you're looking at to something, what you're seeing, you're not seeing it for what it actually is. And so once it was revealed to me that I was seeing perfection. I was seeing perfection. And perfection is something that's living, and it has a time to reveal itself and a time to pass. And so the lesson was, live precisely, wholly within the moment, because you're never going to see this again. Because as the snowflakes and as the fingerprint, tomorrow is never going to be today. So live in the present moment and take in this. You know how people want to take pictures of sunsets and sunrises? And then when you look in your camera, that very moment, to make certain that you recorded it, you find in technology, in your camera, there's always something different when you're looking at what is, and when you're looking at the past through your technology, which is a picture that you took just 2 or 3 minutes ago. It's the past. The reason why it looks different in your camera, and it is really no match for what the Creator itself is presenting to you, is because perfection is in fact sacred. And you have to take in that moment, because you're never going to see that again. You're never going to experience the essence of the beauty of that very moment. You're never going to experience this again. There's a beauty in that, and there's a sadness in that, because you would never see this ever again. And so the lesson in that also is learning the art of enjoying something beautiful and sacred within that moment, and understanding that this sacred is this sacred lesson and beauty is in fact passing, and you're never going to see this again, in spite of how much you are finding contentment in what you are observing. So the lesson with that is being able to accept the fact that you are going to have to let this go. Let it go. And so when you're observing something like that, you're not taking it in by taking a picture of it. You take it in by allowing your heart and your mind to absorb the beauty of what you're seeing at that present moment. And so you take that, the beauty of what you're observing and what you're seeing, you don't take it inward with your device. You take it inward with your heart. And that's the distinction. And understanding that the very next day is going to be different as the fingerprint and the snowflake. Each day that the Creator creates is different. And that's the sacredness of it. So you have to take it, absorb it with your heart and your mind, particularly your heart, because your heart is going to contain, the feeling that what you're observing, the spirituality, the feeling and everything is going to be absorbed and contained within you. So you don't need the camera. See, because the camera is not a duplication of what is. The camera is in fact a fabrication of what is. And that's why it looks different. So absorbing the moment, the very moment, and being able to let go, because you can't take it with you, not even with the camera. But the Creator, you can't take that with you by way of the camera. And you can't even take it with you by way of the memory of how the organism is recording it. So you have to take it in the heart. So you have to absorb it inside. And the Creator gave us that ability to do so. But you have to be in a state of humility. You can't have the type of mind of comparing one sunrise than this other sunrise that you saw, because in the moment of comparing what you're looking at to what was, you're looking at what is through a screen of the past, and you're cheating yourself from having an opportunity to witness the very sacred beauty of God's perfection in that precise moment. And I'm hoping that this is understood. I really am. But some people are not able to understand it until the Creator rises them to a certain state of calmness, humbleness, humility, and being able to see instead of just simply just looking at it. You have to die to the present and therefore the former self, and just see what you're looking at. See. I know, the whole looking at thing, but you have to be able to see it. Just see it. Because the Creator puts on a real good show a whole lot of mornings. And as I said before, it's something that you can't take with you by way of memory or by way of your device. And what you take with you is not what you were seeing, but the very essence of what created that scene. You take it away in the heart. And so that is the best way that I can explain what perfection is to me, what was given to me. a few years ago, I was walking with this older brother who was friends with the people who I was in the ministry with, Exalt Ministries. We were walking in this park where I always take my walks. It's called Lewis Family Park. And so we were talking about clearly observing something for what it is. And so I noticed in his walk, he had this walk, because he was older, and what I noticed is that he really wasn't having a conversation with me. What a lot of older people think all the time, they think that their age makes them superior over you. So I saw it in his walk, I saw it in his walk. And even though I thought we was having a conversation, in his mind, I was sharing information with him, and he thought that he was my source of confirmation. And so there's a beautiful mountain that you might as well say overlooks the park. And so we were talking about observation. We was talking about observation. And being able to see something as it is without comparison. And so we had stopped, and I pointed at Black Mountain. I said, "What do you see when you see Black Mountain?" He still was kind of bouncing. Well, it reminds me of a mountain, and I threw my hands up. I said, "Forget it." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You have to be able to see the mountain for what it is." I said, "And the moment you start comparing one thing to another, you create a screen, and you're seeing what is through what was, and therefore you're not seeing it clearly for what it is." Now, I struggled through explaining that, but one of the reasons why I brought this up, and I had talked to my friends about it, I said, we as human beings have that habit. It's a habit. I call it a habit because it's not a flaw, so I'm not judging anybody. But we do come up in a Western culture of where everything is compared through the screens of the past. And so I was telling them that, we have a really cultural bad habit of getting to know one another by way of the effects of our past. And so we have these expectations of the people who we meet in the present because of the people who we've met in the past. And we call ourselves getting to know one another. How can you be getting to know one another when you are still living in the past by comparing this human being to other human beings? And so you're really not getting to know one another effectively and conclusively because of the people who hurt you in the past or the people who you've known in the past. The moment you say to this person, "You know who you remind me of?" you create a screen. And this is another reason why we disappoint one another, because we compare one another to other people who we've encountered. And I came to understand that that's a flaw from myself. When when I started meeting people and I was living in the past, and I'm like, oh man, I hope this woman ain't like such and such thing. I hope this dude don't betray me like homeboy did. You know what, just leave the people alone, you know, because then if that's the way that you're feeling and you're thinking, it's best that you don't try to add anyone to your social life because you have not healed from your past relationships, you know, your past human relationships. And so this goes back to being able to let go, the power of letting go and moving forwards into the new, because everyone is created uniquely themselves. So we're going back to the fingerprint, and we're going back to the snowflake, we're going back to the sunrise, all of those things. See, we are all a part of this unique creation. This is the reason why you will never find any other human being on the planet with your fingerprint. That's how unique you are as a human being. That's how uniquely different we all are. However, what connects us as a human family is the fact that we are all human beings. And therefore, there's only one family, and that's the human family. In spite of the racism, in spite of the politics, in spite of the different devices that are put into our social arena in which separates us, like sports, you know, religion, politics, all of those divisive tools that separate us, but we're still, nonetheless, a part of the same human experience. And to me, that's very beautiful. It's a beautiful, difficult, profound, redemptive journey. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. Beautiful conversation today. And so I wanted to share that because I believe that the conversation that we had today in their home was very beautiful. It was very beautiful. I almost didn't want to come home. I always, you know, I really wanted to go further, but I was looking at my time. And so I have to let me see what it is. It's 6:29 p.m. here in Las Vegas. So I'm just gonna go and lay down, get me at least 3 hours of sleep so I can get up and go to work. I'm pretty certain that I forgot to mention something, but yeah, but that's the whole beauty of perfection. You know, all of us are uniquely perfect in our own individuality. And so without comparing one another, I think if we wouldn't compare one another and just accept one another as we are, I think the world would be a much better place to live. It would, you know, because a lot of us are living in the past. A lot of us really are. And there's a fear factor present there that has a deceptive intelligence in it, in which convinces us that comparison is a protection mechanism, defense mechanism. And so when we meet people in the new, we're living in the past because we have that fear factor going on. And so we like, okay, I don't have to take my time getting to know this person. Yeah, you have to take your time getting to know everyone. You know, you have to take your time even getting to know oneself. Because as long as we're living, we're always in the process of learning, not of one another, but primarily ourselves as time goes on. Because we are functioning within time. We are a part of time, you know. Okay, with that being said, before I start talking some more, I think I need to lay down and give me some rest. And so I hope that that was understood, but I wanted to clarify that in case more people out there didn't really understand what I was saying. But like I was saying, um, according to this culture, you cannot repeat an imperfection and think that you're going to come up with perfection, because, you know, perfection is something that's sacred. Now, if something is perfect to you, it only means that it's perfect for as far as your individuality is concerned, or point of view, you know. But that morning when I was shown that perfection is in fact something that is living, something that is moving, something that is incomparable, you know, it's something that is sacred when it comes to the Creator. But the Creator gave us our own individual and unique perception of what perfection is in our different areas of observation down here within our life journey. So with that being said, I need to lay down. Whoever observing this video, I thank you for taking, being generous with your time to watch it. And as I say again, if you like the video, just like it. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it. And if you want to comment, make some comments, because I would love to find out if you experience anything like that and what perfection is to you. I would like to know that, because we're here to learn from one another. None of us know it all. Real quick, I had a friend at the Win when I was working at the Win. He said, this was back in the day when the great Jim Carrey's movie came out, and it had the great elder Morgan Freeman in it, and it was called Bruce Almighty. And he asked me, he said, David, if God gave you an opportunity to know everything, would you? And I'm like, no. And he said, why not? I said, because this organism, it wasn't created in order to contain all that is known. I said, I would lose my mind instantly. I would lose what mind I have, because I know the limitations of this organism. And I understand that the Creator created each and every one of us with a measurement of, how can I put this? A measurement of perception, a certain percentage according to our destiny. And by this organism having a limited destiny, you cannot put all that is known, which is eternal, into an organism that has a measurement of time to exist. That organism, that person or that people would lose it, because that's like trying to put everything into something that is obviously way too small. And so I think that if each and every one of us knew everything, this life journey would be very pointless. It would be very boring. And I think that if each and every one of us knew everything, this world would be in chaos. It would be in chaos. It would be in chaos, as it is this day, because of the knowledge of good and evil. But I don't want to go back to that. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you understood it. And like I said, if you like it, please press the like button or subscribe if you would like. And thank you for listening, and everyone stay human And everyone have a beautiful evening. Peace.